Last week I showed you how I analyze properties on Centris.ca. Today I'm going to take it one step further and show you how I can make an opinion on a property within 10 minutes or less. So whenever a client sends me a listing and says, "Hey LJ, is this a good deal?" I'm about to walk you through my process to analyze and give you yes, no, is it worth visiting or not. My name is LJ Aguinaga, real estate broker at LJ Realties. I've been a realtor for the last 18 years and I've analyzed thousands and thousands of deals over that period of time. Today I'm going to walk you through my process, so without further ado, let's jump right in. So I was scrolling through Centris and I found this property. It's a waterfront property. A client had sent it over and said, "Hey LJ, what do you think about this property? Waterfront in Pierrefonds for under $900,000. What's the catch?" So immediately I opened it up on Centris, and the first thing I'll remark is that on our end, I see that there's a CPP, which means there's a conditional promise to purchase, which translates to there's an accepted offer on the property. So off the hop, we know that that's going on. Now, right away, I see waterfront, and immediately my antenna goes off and says, are we in the flood zone? So let's double check. I go straight to the Zone Inondables map of Quebec. I pull it up, Montreal, and you have this little blue box over here. This is in the flood map. Now, we have to take it one step further because the flood maps were recently updated. And to me, this is an immediate yellow flag. It's not a red, but we do have to see what's happening in the property. Is there anything good or bad that can protect us? Because we've seen a lot of banks want to pull mortgages on properties recently that are in the flood zone. They're not being able to refinance, not being able to do things of that nature. So I am always super weary and hesitant about this. So now we have to keep digging. Before we keep digging, I usually open it up on Google Maps as well. I'll take a look and see some of the neighbors. We have a bus stop right in front of the property. So this is good and bad. It's good because obviously you've got great transport options available to you, but it's a little bit less good in the sense that you're gonna have a bus that's gonna stop right in front of you. And the part of buses that is the loudest is the stop, because you have the boom, 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 boom a lot of the time when it's trying to stop. So that's something to note on that front. If we look at some of the neighbors, this part of Gouin does have a lot of different homes on it. It is quite calm, rural almost. So it gives us a decent idea what we got going on. If I go in the other direction, it's a lot of the same, to be honest. So pretty quiet part of Gouin over here. All right, now let's look at the listing. I would go through photos, obviously, on my own. I can see that there's a little dock on this side. It almost looks like a beach entrance. It does look like we have elevation going this way, which is nice. It looks like the water is pretty low comparatively over here. And obviously last video, I spent a lot of time analyzing photos, which is what you can see on your end. This video, I'm gonna go a little bit more into the back end, right? So over here, as I go through the listing, I'm gonna see that we're working on different documents. So the first document I'm gonna open is the seller's declaration. Seller's declaration, I would go through it. As a general rule of thumb, I scan for the yeses off the hop. Yeses usually means that there's something to declare, so I'll go through that. This section, usually it's normal to have a mortgage or a servitude or an encroachment. Over here, it's confirming that there might be something special about it as well. As I cycle through, there's been water in the basement. Interesting. There's some foundation cracks. Okay. They've had mice in the past. It is quite rural, so it's not uncommon. The roof is 2011. Okay. They've got icicles. Means we're going to have to reinforce the insulation in the attic of the property. Connected to municipal water, that's a good yes. We've got electricity. There have been problems with the electrical. Okay, so we've got a couple different things going on here. I'm saying it's never been inspected. They don't have any additional inspection reports. All no's here. All right, now if I zoom in a little bit. So the present sale is done without legal warranty. Okay. The property's been empty for a year. The property is situated in a flood zone. However, it's just the terrain. Look at the certificate location from 2024. The fence separates okay. So this is interesting. There was 4 inches of water that came in from below grade. So basically the level of water just beneath the property was elevated, and that is what caused the water to come in. Everything was cleaned up and pumped out. They have occasional mice in the autumn. Okay, so we've got different things of that nature. So now let's go take a look at the certificate location. I pull it up here. I want to make sure I'm looking at the right one. When was this one studied? It's usually dated at the bottom here. So this is 2024. Okay, perfect. So this is the right one over here. And I see all sorts of lines. This is where we're going to be looking at when and what these lines are. So it seems like, okay, this is where the wall is. This was the level of water in August 2024. I'm trying to follow some of these over here. It's a little bit unclear what we're working with. I'm not sure if they're showing elevations here. Usually it's pretty clear. Usually you're gonna have the 20-year, the 50-year, and the 100-year flood lines. Over here, I'm not seeing that, to be honest. So this is leaving me with question marks, personally. I'm seeing, okay, so I guess it's the way it was scanned. You have Inondables en courant, faible courant, and it's being showcased in these different ways. The original was probably done in color, and with the color, we'd actually be able to see what's going on. So we'd actually want to get a copy of the original certificate of location here in order to be able to have a much better opinion of what we're seeing over here. Now let's see what this second one is over here. Ah, here's the color version. Okay, great. So over here we can see that we've got the cru of 2 years, okay, and then we've got the red. So it's actually quite far. So you can see, yeah, here the flood zone is pretty far over here. We are quite protected in this sense, and then obviously the water is over there. These are kinds of things that I would analyze and take a look like, okay, it does seem like the property is protected in this case. We would be able to have a use case for moving forward on the property. Obviously, as somebody who's looking for waterfront, you've got over 17,000 square feet of land on this property. It is going to need some repairs. Obviously, the home is a little bit older, but I mean, look at the sunset over here. So off the hop, after analyzing that, I'd say, hey, you know what? This is definitely worth checking out. Let's go visit the property, see what it actually looks like in person, and see how the property looks. I mean, look at that view. It's spectacular, obviously. And there's a lot of cases when I look at this and I will see that you're in the flood zone and you're not protected right now. And I would immediately write that property off for clients. I will say, obviously, we've had a lot of changes with the weather recently, and it's possible that we get even more water. But it does seem like you are quite elevated. It did seem like there was a pretty decent amount of protection here between you and the property. So I would definitely consider this worth checking out and moving on to the next phase to understand where we go from here. So this gives you a little bit of idea of how I would analyze a property from start to finish to make sure it's worth visiting or not, and not waste your time as a visitor. If you have any questions, if you have any properties that you'd like me to analyze like this, feel free to send them my way. It would be my pleasure to check them out for you. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching.